Hello, EKN Nation. It is a new edition here of the EKN OutLap, episode number 37. It's March the 30th, 2022. And we are just really one day away from getting on a plane and heading to New Orleans for the opening round of the 2022 Superkarts USA Pro Tour. The WinterNationals will take place this coming weekend, ironically in the same city that March Madness will cap off. The NCCA men's basketball tournament wrapping up this weekend in the same city, which is really weird. But number one, if you haven't listened to one of these podcasts before, our outlaps, so welcome. These are essentially our preview podcast for what is an upcoming EKN Trackside live event, the SCUSA Pro Tour WinterNationals, being the case today. Awesome for if you're driving to work, whatever, it's just, or getting your cart ready. These podcasts will bring you up to speed on what's happening in this upcoming weekend event. And again, as I said, the Pro Tour WinterNationals getting set to go this weekend, April 1st to 3rd. This edition of the Outlap podcast presented by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. If you want to improve your results, it's time for professional instruction and coaching at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Located at the state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park just north of Houston, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy offers custom coaching programs for newcomers and experienced racers alike. Train with a champion with over 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Get ready for the big races by training with the best. Reserve your dates now by calling 866-607-RACE. That's 866-607-7223. So again, my name is Rob Howden with David Cole, as always, in the virtual online EKN studio. David, the 2022 Superkarts USA Pro Tour about to begin. Winter Nationals, Spring Nationals, Summer Nationals. Winter Nationals this weekend, Ola Motorsports Park in Avondale, Louisiana. But you, my friend, will not be with me this weekend. It's crazy.
I will be on holiday, as you finally put it.
You mean our vacation?
Yes, as I was just getting you back for that. Yeah, yes. So I will be on vacation. It's unfortunately I scheduled this way before the scheduling for 2022 was announced because it's the only spring break week that we have and our family. So it has to be on this week. Unfortunately, yes, I will not be at the WinterNationals, but same as last year, I was not there due to scheduling conflicts once again.
Yeah.
And so, these will be my two Pro Tour races that my third actually, because I did miss the Summer Nationals in 2010 due to a Rotax Grand Nationals.
There you go. So yeah, obviously the dates have been moved around. For the first number of Winter Nationals, it was the first weekend of March. Then it can move to a different date last year, now into April for the first time this year, April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Nola Motorsports Park, a fantastic racetrack. So many passing opportunities. It's a longer racetrack. We'll talk more about that in a bit. For those of you who don't know, the SCUSA Pro Tour, 3 events, 6-round championships. Of course, rounds 1 and 2 coming this coming weekend. 13th season, David, for the championship. All started back in 2010. We were there for that first ever race, the Spring Nationals at Sonoma. We've covered all the races since then. But the 5th edition of the Winter Nationals, because earlier in the Pro Tour days, there was the Spring Nationals, the Summer Nationals, and SCUSA actually used the Super Nationals and those results as part of the program. They wanted to get away from having a championship crowned at the Super Nats. Drivers kind of had to run a little differently. So they brought in the Winter Nationals back in 2017. So the 5th edition of this Winter Nationals, and one of the ironic things is there wasn't one year, obviously. and David, you were there for that one, and it kind of got canceled up from underneath you.
Yeah, that was going to be the one Pro Tour race that you were going to miss. Mm-hmm. You were in St. Pete. I was at NOLA, and that is when COVID-19 happened. Yeah. So we were all there. We got the practice day going and almost completed before they shut us down that Friday. As we all know, when COVID began and really, took the world by storm. And yeah, this will be number 5 for the Winter Nationals. Like you said, that was great to see the transition of ending the Pro Tour at the Super Nationals and making it a standalone series. Because again, that Super Nationals drivers certainly had to drive a lot differently than they do now, where, drivers are thinking points, especially those in the championship hunt where the 98% of the field was going for a win. So yeah, it brought up some interesting scenarios during those first 7 seasons of using the Super Nationals. Now with the Winter Nationals in place, you got the Spring Nationals and Summer Nationals. It's a great 6-race series.
Yeah, indeed. And the great thing is we're in a place right now where we have a lot of stability in the programs we have. And, people that have been around the sport for 3, 5, 7 years don't remember the days when national programs would last maybe 2 to 3 years. There would be some industry conflict, chaos, whatever it may be, and a new series would start and nobody ever knew where they were going. Start was the SCUSA Promoto Tour, then the Stars of Karting Championship, then CKI, and then SCUSA came back, of course, with Tom Kutcher in 2010. But we're in a place now where we have these long-running programs. 13th season for the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. The 15th season just getting wrapped up for the Challenge of the Americas. What is it now for USPKS, David? Is this the 10th season for USPKS?
10th season, yes.
Yeah, so
10th season.
We're a decade. We're a decade with really solid, stable racing series, which is awesome for the industry.
It is, and you add in, all the number of one-off races, such as Rock Island Grand Prix going into what I think the 27th edition. You got the Quincy Grand Prix going again. We had the Battle of the Brickyard. Unfortunately, that's not here. Hopefully that'll come back. But a number of other, the regional programs that are still going strong and kind of reinventing themselves or kind of rejuvenating themselves and coming back after a couple year hiatus. So, it's, again, people say karting isn't a bad place. I completely disagree. It's in a great place right now.
So let's get back to looking at the Winter Nationals. Again, as we said, the 5th edition of this race. Weather this coming weekend, looking upper 80s, upper 70s, low 80s. So temperature-wise, pretty solid. But you look at that Saturday forecast, David, there's, anywhere between a 40 and a 50% chance of rain, depending where you look at. It's New Orleans, right? You're right there on the water. We get it. We're at essentially at sea level. I'm hoping it's not too bad. And that if we get rain, we just get rain and it doesn't get too crazy. I don't want tents flying all over the place. Let's put it that way.
Well, unfortunately, that's the issue right now. They're getting blasted with some high winds at the racetrack today and throughout the area. There's a big band of storms that are pushing through not only that area, but all the way up into the Midwest. So that's kind of the concern right now. So hopefully it gets through today and doesn't affect, the wind doesn't affect the weekend for when racing begins.
Let's have a look at this race once we do get there. We're running the 1.1 mile, 17 turn racetrack in the counterclockwise direction. I've said this before, this racetrack races really well, as you know, David. The big long back straightaway. A lot of the corners, to be super fast, you run a wide entry. So it opens the inside up, right? So you get a lot of over-unders. There's a lot of overtaking. And in the races you've been there and I've been there for, of course, the track hosted the Rotax Grand Finals back in 2013. We were there. It's a great racetrack in terms of the ability to overtake.
Yeah, the long straightaway helps keep people together a little bit with the draft, and then you go through the rest of the racetrack, and it's a lot of back and forth. And there's curb jumping, obviously. I don't think there's a track now that we don't go to that
right.
doesn't involve some type of curb jumping. But it's a lot of back and forth. I think that's the key element. So I think you'll see a lot of race group racing, a lot of groups racing at the front together. I don't really see people that are going to really stand out and kind of break away. It's kind of hard with the draft of the long straight. And again, the back and forth, unless people race and don't work together and allow somebody to kind of get away. I think that's going to be the only reason we see kind of the breakaway races that happen over the weekend.
So the event schedule of Thursday and Friday, we have practice, 5 rounds on the day, 4 7-minute sessions, and then extended 12-minute sessions to wrap up the day. David, the last session on Friday as well. They'll use that to grid up for qualifying too.
Yeah, it's the longer session, but you got to expect everybody will be on brand new tires, so it'll kind of be a qualifying stint, but also an opportunity to kind of gauge how the tire goes for that long distance. Because as we look into Saturday and Sunday, pre-finals are going to be 10 laps, 8 laps for cadets, and then the main events are 20 laps long, 18 for cadets. So some long races, because you figure a 1.1 mile racetrack at 20 laps, you're going to be on track for 22 miles, literally probably close to a half hour full of racing.
Yeah, that's a lot of racing for sure for these main events. And again, full races on Saturday and Sunday, rounds 1 and 2 of this year's Superkarts USA Pro Tour. Okay, time for our first break here. Again, this edition of the EKN OutLap featuring the Superkarts USA Pro Tour WinterNationals brought to you by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. When we get back, we'll have a look at the numbers. We've got the entry lists. We'll let you know where we are pre-entry wise. It all started in 1994 when former successful kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Fast forward 20 years and Parolin's passion for the sport led to the company rejoining international competitions as a factory team in WSK and CIK FIA races, with the aim of enhancing the research and development process, immediately achieving notable results around Europe, North America, and Asia, becoming the CIK FIA Asia Pacific KZ champion in the same year. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory team at all of the major Superkarts USA and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2021 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior classes, and the 28mm mini kart for the cadet classes. Parolin has been winning races all over the world, and it's on top of the podium in the USA as well, with drivers like Kai Sorensen, Mateus Orjuela, and Alessandro De Tullio. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com.
History, success, family. Those are the three words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside of Indianapolis, and they have provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers throughout their near 6 decades of business. Comet's online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. Comet Kart Sales attends dozens of karting events every year, offering trackside service for racers and families. Karting veterans Mark Dismore Jr. and Gary Lawson provide one-on-one driver coaching and tuning assistance for each trackside customer. The engine building business, Comet Racing Engines, has won countless major events and championships over decades of karting, and they continue to offer the best trackside service in the industry. Make sure you head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be a part of the Comet Kart Sales family today.
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, the OutLap preview podcast of this weekend's Superkarts USA WinterNationals at NOLA Motorsports Park. David, people were wondering what we were going to see in terms of numbers. Last year, the opening round at NOLA, 211 entries. They've bumped that up by pretty much 10%, 224 pre-entries coming in. So pretty solid numbers for Superkarts USA. They've kind of settled in there, right, at that 225 to 240 mark in terms of the Pro Tour.
Well, looking at the Winter Nationals, I kind of dove a little bit deeper. I'll go into kind of general numbers. It's been over that 200 mark. This is actually the largest entry total that we've had over the 5 editions. If you recall, 2019, we were actually at Cal Speed. We opened it up in Fontana, California for the Winter Nationals. So it's the only year that we weren't at NOLA Motorsports Park. But aside from that, it's always been over that 200 mark. Last year, we were at 211, which is where we were around at for 2018. The opening Winter Nationals in 2017 was at 221. And the COVID year, we were at 193. And I think we had at track entries to kind of bump it over that 200 mark, but it was never an official event. So we'll just kind of put an asterisk next to that. But when you look at it, yeah, over 200 every year, and this one being the largest in those 5 editions.
Scooz always gets a pretty good run of the drivers in the cadet category. 23 in the Micro Swift class. We'll have 39 in Mini. And unlike the West Coast, David, in terms of junior and senior 125cc liquid-cooled tag racing, there's good numbers, right? 31 in X30 junior, up a little bit from last year, and 45 total in X30 senior. So both of those categories pretty strong.
Yeah, they certainly are, kind of very similar to what we saw at USPKS back at the beginning of March, where the numbers were big in these two categories, they are staying that way and actually increased from last year's WinterNationals with 31 in X30 Junior up. That's up 4. And then up 6 in X30 Senior. So again, increase in those numbers. So, but I think a lot of it, West Coast drivers are coming out and doing the Pro Tour because again, it's national program, and that kind of focusing their 125 programs on just the Pro Tour itself.
Yeah, and let's move on to the Masters categories. I find this really interesting because when the Pro Tour started, the Masters categories were a big part of the Pro Tour. It really was the only place for Masters drivers to race nationally, right? To get that that top level national program. That's fallen by the wayside so much lately, and to the point where I think this is probably the smallest numbers we've ever seen on the Pro Tour. Only 5 drivers right now signed up for X30 Master, and only 6 in the Master Shifter category. And when I look at those numbers, I'm pretty sad, a little disappointed, because just that Masters level racing, 30 and up, was a really big part of the culture of the Pro Tour when it first started.
Well, as you said, it was the only place that you could go master racing. It was the only place that was really designated for the older drivers, the elder drivers. And, it's where we saw the Supermaster category created. So, again, now you see master class everywhere. I mean, I think they just had record numbers at the Texas Sprint Racing Series with, let me get the number here, 18 in the KA 100 Masters class. So they've never had those kind of numbers before. So that's kind of what I think we're seeing, kind of similar to what we see with the senior and junior ranks. A lot of these master drivers are going 100cc racing.
Yeah.
And they're staying home too.
Yeah.
They're staying at the local and regional level.
Well, again, that's what the national program's all about, right? So you've got your club level, you've got your regional level, and then ideally all the regions, top 5 guys from all your regions, are going to go national level racing, and that's where you get the numbers. But indeed, I think the whole X30, the whole 125cc tag program is just down everywhere when it comes to Masters drivers, David. We didn't see a lot at the Challenge of the Americas either. I think we have 6 or 7 there, and just 5 here at the Pro Tour as well. So maybe indicative of a kind of a wave that we have of Masters drivers, because we back in the last decade, there were some big dogs that we used to see in the decade before. Right now, we're not seeing the guys that were super, the big dogs in tag senior. We're not seeing those guys jump into the Masters categories.
Well, again, kind of like what we see with cadets, we see the numbers go up and down, up and down. And right now we're on an uptick in those numbers. And we're now in a downtick for Masters. It's a different era of our sport, certainly, and it's a different generation that are turning 30. They're more, people are starting families a little bit later, so maybe that has something to do with it. There's a lot of other different factors. Obviously, you have to have a job to go racing. So,
well, and a lot of those guys are wrenching on go-karts now too.
And that's exactly it. They're in the industry rather than actually participating and becoming a competitor. But again, like I said, there's plenty of different options to go Masters racing. Look at the international level. They just now added KZ Master category for the World Championship. So it's obviously something that people are gravitating towards. In promotion. Unfortunately, you still have to. People are picking and choosing. And unfortunately, the Pro Tour is kind of suffering right now in at least those 2 categories. And maybe we'll see an uptick in the future. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe they'll change X30 Master to KA 100 Master now that we're getting that base level group of numbers that could help present a category at the national level.
You have to have the pool, right? That's one of the things about the national level, is that you're supposed to run the classes that are run throughout the country. That way, everything feeds up, right? You don't run you can run a class just by itself, but normally if you draw from the regions, you run the same category. So if we're in an ebb and flow position where people are moving to the KA 100 Master category, if I were Scusa, I'd be sitting down in the off season saying, hey, you know what? Why don't we get rid of X30 Master and go KA 100 Master? You double your entries for sure, I would think. So that's a possibility.
Yeah. And they tried to during COVID. And unfortunately, that was COVID. They brought in the KA 100 Master class during the summer festival we had at Newcastle. Unfortunately, only 3 people, or maybe even 4, partook in that double weekend. So it wasn't the right time to kind of introduce that new category. So maybe 2023 could be it.
Possibility. KA 100 junior and senior, very strong as well. 31 in the junior category, 25 drivers in senior, up one from last year in junior and down a handful in KA 100 senior. That's kind of the numbers we've seen at the winter series as well for the SCUSA drivers. So 25 in total in those categories. And David, what I'm liking is 19 pro shifters. Pretty solid.
Yeah, because I wasn't there last year. I don't recall the numbers that were in the category. So to go from 16 to 19 is a great positive. Something, it looks like the KZ program is helping with this growth, and people are more gravitated towards being, at the top echelon of the sport, and that is KZ competition. So, and there's some number of drivers that are going to be in it too. So it's good, solid competitors, and obviously the fastest package you can drive.
Again, 224 pre-entries, and they normally get a handful of walk-ups, so they may get to 230 before the weekend rolls on and we get going official on Saturday morning. Time for another break, though. When we get back, we'll actually dive into the categories, have a little look at the entry lists. We'll go through X30 Senior, KA 100 Senior, and Pro Shifter after this quick break. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group is an official Kart Republic race team, providing full trackside support at all the major USA karting events, including the SCUSA Pro Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, SCUSA SuperNationals 25, and other events throughout the 2022 season. TKG has in stock Kart Republic, IAME, MG and Avinco tires, and more products for those in Ohio and the Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history of the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, our OutLap preview podcast of this coming weekend, Superkarts USA WinterNationals. We have the pre-entry list for you. David, let's get started with X30 Senior. 45 entries and an opportunity for Hannah Greenmeyer to run that national number one and defend that championship that she was able to win last year. A number of different winners last year as well, though, right? 5 winners in 6 races. Diego Ramos, Connor Zilich, Ryan Norberg, Hannah Greenmeyer, and Nate Cicero all getting race wins. I'm looking forward to what should be a really strong weekend this year with 45 drivers in X30 Senior.
Yeah, 4 of the 5 drivers are going to be in the field this weekend. As you mentioned, Greenmeyer defending that national number one plate with, 4-time defending champ or 4-time former champion Ryan Norberg winning, the only driver to win twice last year. He ended up finishing in the 3rd spot in the championship. Unfortunately, had 2 DNFs, which kind of cost him a shot at the title and allowed Greenmeyer to grab that first championship for her, along with getting that first Pro Tour victory in Utah. So, She almost had a first Pro Tour victory at the WinterNationals last year. I believe it was a pushback bumper that took the victory away and gave it to Diego Ramos, if I recall correctly.
It. No, you're exactly right. So line it up. One of the things we'll look at, David, throughout these class previews, and you've added all them into the notes here, that the Texas Sprint Racing Series, a Superkarts USA and IKF regional program, raced actually at NOLA this past weekend. They thankfully had fantastic weather and a lot of racing. They didn't have they don't run the shifter kart categories there, so we won't be able to obviously talk about that. But you do have the notes of who were the top three at that event leading into this weekend, which I think is key, right? To see which drivers have good speed already before we head into the weekend.
Well, they obviously are a step ahead of those who weren't there. They got a good setup, especially those who were successful. Those who were there and weren't, they have an idea of what not to do. And that's always sometimes a good thing going into a Pro Tour weekend, is having those notes in your back pocket to be able to compete on the weekend. And it was Paulie Massimino. We talk about him nearly every outlap we have with either USPKS or SCUSA Pro Tour as one of those drivers to watch. He was able to pull off the victory over Dante Yu with Ryan Norberg right there in the third position. So it was a great fight between those three drivers for the main event on this past Sunday. And you can expect to see Massimo and Norberg up there, and great to see Dante Yu coming back.
Yeah, Dante Yu with Ryan Perry Motorsports. If you look at the lineup here, David, anybody else? Who do you want to throw out there? We know Hannah Greenmeyer is going to be strong, as we said. We talked about the guys that already did really, really well. But there's, you look at some of the guys that were really good at the Winter Series. I think are guys we have to watch out for. This could be a big year for Alessandro DiTullio with Parolin USA. He was really strong at Homestead. Now it's a track he knows very well, but Parolin USA lining up pretty good for this year.
Yeah, he's been one to watch. He's making his car debut. He's moving up into the USF Juniors program, so he's going to have to dabble with that, going from cars to karts to open up the year at the Pro Tour. So we'll see if he's able to juggle that quickly. But he's been quick at his home track in Homestead. We'll see how he does in NOLA. And like you said, Ramos is coming back, so he had a victory there. The one name that obviously sticks out for me, Marjan Kremers, the Dutch driver racing under PSL karting on the Burrell Art chassis, didn't quite perform well last weekend at Texas Sprint Racing Series, but you can't really count him out. He's certainly knows his way around the racetrack, and this isn't his first Pro Tour race in the X30 senior division. If you recall, he did a little dabbling back in when I believe it was Ryan Norberg was his teammate back in the day.
That's right. They went back and forth at Newcastle for the championship. That's right.
And you got Pedro Hiltebrand coming with him as well under the PSL tent. So two international drivers right there. They're going to kind of really stand out. What was the other driver that I saw too? And then we'll throw in the Canadian drivers as well as international with Thomas Nevu. He's been really pretty consistent on top 5 performance over the winter months with the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic machine. So we'll see if he's able to keep that up at NOLA.
Two drivers I think will be ones to watch. Of course, we've seen them do well at NOLA and at other events as well, both Carson and Cole Morgan. I'm pretty sure Cole was a winner last year. I think Carson was too, en route to their championships. So I have a feeling both those guys will be strong. How about, we've had some really good, really impressive debuts in junior as well. I mean, from juniors coming up, David, one in particular being Jeremy Fletcher. The kid's come out of the gate after winning 2 SuperNationals junior races last December to cap off his junior career. What a start to the season, 3 months in.
Yeah, Fletcher had 2 victories last year in the junior category. Race X30 Junior had 2 victories there. So he knows his way around this racetrack. Noah Baker, another driver that won twice in K100 Junior, he'll be racing in the senior X30 division this weekend as well. So those are probably 2 of the outstanding rookie drivers coming into the weekend. Another driver with a lot of experience to watch. So Jake Drew on the Formula Works GFC kart just got off of racing ARCA this past weekend in Irwindale and going to head over to NOLA. And he was our SuperNationals pole sitter, was right there in the mix, just didn't work out for him to battle for the victory at the end there. So I would expect to see him probably with one of the targets on his back.
Yeah, a point leader right now in the ARCA West program too. after the Irwindale weekend, other guys should just jumping out at me right now. This past weekend, we saw Kyriako Sukas, David, at the Challenge of the Americas. He's kind of riding a high right now. I expect him to be strong. And what about Cameron Weinberg on the CRG with Speed Concepts Racing? Has really jumped into that CRG chassis and has been a guy we've been talking about quite a bit in these main events.
Yeah, certainly has shown a lot of speed on the CRG KT5. Been working really well with you and Jeffrey and Tony Soro and the rest of the Speed Concepts Racing crew. And I think he's going to be one of those to be a factor in qualifying if he can keep things together and kind of get that racecraft dialed in a little bit better. I think he could have a shot at certainly a podium. Other guys I just had highlighted here when I scrolled up through the spreadsheet, John Burke with Super Tune, Nate Cicero, Rawlson always running up front. Wes Duchek with Rawlson's kind of stepped to the forefront a little bit as well. Strong run last year, the Super Nats for Frankie Mossman back with Team Bennick. Blake Nash with Nash Motorsports. Aiden Rudolph making the jump to X30 Senior, having run the KA100 Senior during the Winter Series for PSL Karting. And I actually put a little one here on Santiago Trissini as well with Super Tune. I think they've got some good drivers under the Super Tune tent for X30 Senior. I don't think we mentioned Aiden Rudolph. I just did. Yeah, I talked about Aiden, right? I'm sorry. I missed that. Yep. And maybe another one would be Hayden Jones, right? I know that you get a chance to see Hayden Jones quite a bit as well. Yeah, I don't believe. Yeah, he did race at the USPKS program, was among those battling up front all weekend long. I don't think got the results he exactly wanted to, but probably gearing up and getting ready to head Pro Tour. Good to see Dalton Haynes back on the entry list again, driver out of Greensboro, North Carolina, and saw that Zach Clayman DeMello, former SuperNationals winner, Team Canada Rotax driver, IndyCar driver, Indy Lights driver. He'll be racing with Team Bennick this weekend. Yeah, I had a pretty good performance at the USPKS race in Orlando. I think he was a little out of shape, so maybe he put in a couple of gym sessions in between then and now, so he'll be ready to go at NOLA. Although it is a long racetrack, it's a lot of back and forth, so maybe it'll be a little bit easier on him as it's not as tight and confined like the Orlando Kart Center is. Yeah, no doubt. I'll bust his butts a little bit though when I get there on that, David. That's good insight for sure. Let's go to KA100 Senior. 25 entries in total. Cole Morgan, as I had said before, the 2021 champ. A couple of wins for him. Cole Schrader, Nolan Allison, Austin Garrison, Thomas Annunziata, all race winners. How'd things go at the Texas Sprint Racing Series? Anybody stand out there you think we should be watching? Did you stand out for a reason? Oh, I didn't actually, but okay. Sorry, I thought it was good. Good because it was Alex Stanfield who actually came out with the victory on the weekend. He beat out top qualifier Peyton Phillips. Yes, was he? Let me double check my notes here. No, he was not top four, but he won both heat races when they split them up into groups. So Stanfield was able to get away and score the big victory. Peyton Phillips second, and Gia Cicero. We keep talking about her. We do. I think, early 2022 program. She's been top five a lot this SCUSA Winter Series and even at the USPKS. So a top podium finish for her at the Texas Sprint Racing Series. So put her, Phillips, and Stanfield as early contenders going into the weekend. Yeah, I'm scrolling down. I don't see Peyton Phillips on the entry list on the one I have here. Oh, that is correct. I didn't even notice that. Yes. Down, like, what's going on here? Maybe it could be a walk-up entry. That's something I did not confirm because I did not notice that. So I thought for sure we'd see him there. Obviously, he is a Texas driver, and maybe he's just kind of focusing on USPKS and the Texas Sprint Racing Series. But he did not have a good I think one of the days he actually missed the main event at USPKS due to some incidents. So not sure. Maybe he could be a walk-up entry. Maybe he was waiting to see how the weekend went past weekend. Of course, we talked about Jeremy Fletcher already in the X30 Senior class. He'll be in the KA100 Senior and would definitely be a driver to watch. Same with Carson Morgan, right, David? These two junior drivers coming up and literally not taking their foot off the throttle, right, battling for race wins as rookies and freshmen here in the senior classes. Yeah, we do not have Cole Morgan on the entry list. That's another thing I was unable to check on that. So he actually had, obviously the SCUSA I forgot the name of the program.
What do they call it? The Circle of Champions.
Circle of Champions. I was going to say, you created it. Come on now.
the Circle of Champions.
The Circle of Champions. So he had a free entry for the whole program. So I'm not sure if he took that and moved it to X30 for the year or not. But that will be something that you'll have to check out Trackside on Friday.
A couple drivers coming out of the Leading Edge Motorsports camp, I think we need to watch for. Obviously, Oliver Calvo, anytime he's in a field, especially in the 100cc, he could take a run at it. And they've also got Nicholas DeAndrea under Greg Bell's Leading Edge Motorsports tent. We're going to talk about a little bit of a shakeup when we get to the shifter card category when it comes to Leading Edge. Some big news dropping out here. But Calvo and DeAndrea, I think, will be two to watch out for. You mentioned Gia Cicero. Super impressive she has been to start this season. I think she could challenge for a podium or potentially a race win. It all depends how things shake down for her. She was good there last year, as I remember, David. I think was running top 10, like 6th, 7th, or 8th or something like that, maybe even to the top 5, and then got taken out in the second half of the racetrack in one of the main events. So I know that she's got good speed for sure.
There are 3 Canadians in the field. We'll begin with the Alley brothers, Daniel and Adam. They'll be racing under the Racing Edge Motorsports crew. They were at USPKS, so they're doing a lot of racing here in the U.S. But Cedric Lupien, another top driver in X30 senior division, moving over to KA100 senior. So that'll be interesting to see how Lupien does in the 100cc category.
Anytime I see Connor Ferris in a 100cc field, he's going to be able to battle for the win, which I think is key. And I'm going to put a little highlight on Caleb Schrader for a Rawlson Performance Group too. I think he may be one to step up a little bit here. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, a victory last year in the at the Spring Nationals in Utah. So certainly has a victory under his belt. Knows how to be up front, and hasn't been in the kart recently as much. So we'll see if he's able to shake off the rust quickly.
All right, so let's jump into that pro shifter class I talked about. 19 entries, which is awesome. The 2021 champ, of course, AJ Myers. He won in 18. He won in 2020. 5 wins on the season last year. Jake French getting the other one. Again, David, with AJ Myers and the KZ and the Magic Kart, it's just such a strong package, is it not?
It's the one to beat. That certainly is what's everybody's mindset going into the weekend. He's kind of set the bar all last year. He had that mechanical that put him on the sideline to take away that victory on Saturday at Newcastle, but came right back the next day to score a 5th victory in the 6 rounds to kind of seal the deal for the championship. It's basically going to be the same familiar people that we've seen in the past with Myers, Jake French last year, a race winner and a former series champion, along with 4-time Super Nationals winner Billy Musgrave, who finished 3rd in the championship. So he'll carry the number 3 kart on the factory kart that he'll be driving. He put in some work at the Winter Series to kind of dial out the bugs and see if he can be a contender for the championship in 2022.
Yeah, how about the guy that we just saw sweep the main events and win the championship at the Challenge of the Americas, Hunter Pickett, coming off a really strong weekend at Sonoma. He didn't get the chance to get on track, of course, at NOLA, instead running for the championship with the Challenge. But man, this kid was, I shouldn't call him a kid anymore. He's married with his own kid. Hunter, this young man, is really at the top of his game right now too.
Well, you got 4 drivers under the GFC tent that are probably going to be among those that are trying to take down that AJ Myers. You got Jacob Gulick, who won in Phoenix at the Challenge. You have Kyle Wick, who doubled up at the Tucson aboard that Track Magic. And then Cole Shade. He hasn't been racing yet this year, but been wrenching for Jonathan Tolo in the Masters category. But you got to think all 4 of those drivers are going to be working together under the tent, trying to find optimal speed all weekend long.
Well, and let's just, before we tackle, there's a couple other names I want to throw out there, but let's tackle the big news, David, that happened yesterday. Danny Formal coming off, he and Greg Bell at Leading Edge Motorsports on the Formula K, coming off what was an absolutely stellar performance in the Florida Winter Tour, the Rock Cup Florida Winter Tour, won all 3 main events to win that championship over AJ Myers and Jake French and a solid group of shifter car drivers. So Formal was going to come in with all this momentum, They've got that the Formula K chassis dialed in exactly the way they want it. I've been talking to Greg quite a bit over the last week and a bit. They were so pumped coming into this race, and then essentially getting the rug pulled out from underneath them. Danny Formal testing positive for COVID. He will not be at the event. I'll let you talk about it and then drop in who's actually going to take the seat, because it makes it just as exciting with the guy that they've got to sub for Danny on the weekend.
Yeah, it's a tough break for Danny. Obviously, the momentum was on his side going into the weekend. You know, he got the one up, or really three up on AJ Myers and Jake French going into the weekend with a sweep at the Florida Winter Tour. Obviously, it's a different engine package, so that's a little bit of a factor, because as we saw, Formal exactly wasn't up to speed last year at the Summer Nationals when he did come to the Pro Tour event. And then again at the Winter Series, just not quite there. So, you know, Myers had just a little bit more than he did, but you got to expect that the momentum was going to help carry him into the weekend. He loves NOLA Motorsports Park. He loves jumping the curbs there, and he loves going fast. So it's a tough break to see Formal. Unfortunately, you know, the travels between the U.S. and Costa Rica, he's been doing that a lot, and unfortunately, you know, again, just one of those positive tests. Maybe it'll go away quickly and he'll test negative, but you know, we hope the best for Danny. But it certainly brings up an interesting scenario. Right. We saw Greg Bell put up on social media, "Hey, the ride is open. I need a top driver," and one driver decided to make the call, and that was Connor Zillage. Making the call, and he will fill in for Danny Formal on the Leading Edge Motorsports Formula K. So it's kind of eerie, because last year we saw Greg Bell working with a friend and rival of Connor Zillage, Brent Cruz, all last year. Yeah. So we saw Cruz make that shift, that movement over into shifter kart racing at the age of 13. We have Connor Zillage, FIA Academy Trophy champion from 2020. Did all senior racing last year, got that under his belt, got a number of victories, and at all different programs, USPKS, SCUSA, all over the place, Florida Winter Tour champion as well. And so now he's made the move. They're both racing each other in the Trans Am series this year. So he's got some shifter racing under his belt, just not shifter kart racing. That's going to be the one kind of it's going to be a learning curve, I think, on the weekend.
Steep.
Obviously, getting off the line will be it. And then again, just racing with 6 gears instead of single speed around the NOLA Motorsports Park.
Yeah, he's been doing the Trans Am racing, as we know, did a bunch of MX5 Cup racing too. So I just think it's cool to see Connor getting into that seat. It's going to be definitely a talking point throughout the weekend. And again, I echo your sentiments about Danny Formal not being able to be here. Man, so much momentum with he and Greg Bell and the whole Leading Edge crew with the dominant performance they put in on the Winter Series with that package. And I know that they were really looking forward to getting here and really, you know, getting in there with French and Myers to try to win this race. Speaking of French, a couple other drivers, David, with him under the PSL karting camp that I want to bring up. I expect to see them in the top 10, one being David Greco and the other being Michael Stevens. Both those drivers have been pretty good over the last year, 2 years, and in the winter programs as well. So I think both those guys should be top 10 runners.
Yeah, it's good to see, again, 19 drivers in the field. So a number of different contenders that are going to be competing, a number of drivers that you look at like, oh, that's a top 10 driver right there. And there's only 19 drivers. So it's a good, solid field going into the weekend.
Let me just do one more for fun, because I think this is really super cool. Obviously, Billy Musgrave there with his own kart, right? The factory kart that he designs and builds, the American-made factory kart. He's got one of his old teammates back again this weekend. Chente Salas from here in Temecula, California, is going to be running this weekend. Chente did a lot of stuff, as we know, in the Pro 2 category when it was kind of the S2 semi-pro shifter kart classes, and did really well there. One of the top guys on iRacing, does a lot of stock car racing, the NASCAR stuff on iRacing, wins a lot of big races. Transitioning actually into full-size outdoor real-life stock cars. Raced this past weekend at Hickory Speedway in North Carolina in a late model. He's going to transition. He's going to – what's that? Hickory, yeah.
Hickory.
I'm sure he had some legendary Bojangles sweet tea while he was there.
Mm-hmm.
But Chente is going to run the factory kart this weekend with Billy. So transitioning from the big stock car, coming back here to run at NOLA. I like seeing his name on there. This is a kid that's going places in the stock car world, coming out of iRacing, and then, you know, getting into some late models in as I said, in North Carolina. So I'm excited to see him on the grid. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, it certainly helps to have a teammate. When you make that transition, it's tough if you're a solo team operation. So to be able to, Billy's been in the kart all winter long, as we know he normally is. To be able to get that data and go back and forth between those two, they'll hopefully help him get acclimated back into the karting mode and be quick right out the gate.
Yeah, we'll see 3 factory karts on the grid as Liam Jones out of Ventura, California, joining Billy and Chente as well. All right, that wraps up our first 3. Let's go to another break. When we come back after this quick one, we'll do X30 Junior, KA100 Junior, X30 Master, and Master Shifter.
Trader, Evans, Pruitt, Haddock, McMurray. Karting legends are created here at the Quincy Grand Prix. This is Randy Kugler, the voice of this iconic event. The Quincy Grand Prix returned in June of 2021, a year after being postponed in 2020 due to the coronavirus pandemic. The park is back again this year, bigger and better than ever. So mark the June 11th and 12th weekend on your calendar, and we'll see you there. On that gorgeous late spring weekend, for the 34th time since 1970, competition karts will once again rip around the spectacular and beautiful 1.2-mile circuit set inside the South Park of Quincy, Illinois. This is your chance to race in front of over 15,000 spectators. The 2022 edition of the Quincy Grand Prix marks the 52nd anniversary of the first time karters raced around this historic venue. To celebrate the event, a total cash purse of $10,000 will be paid out over the 4 pro classes competing on the weekend. A total of 11 categories will be competing for the unique trophy given to all race winners, the Gussie, designed and named after the original race founder, Gus Trader. Registration is now open, so don't wait, and enter now at QuincyGrandPrix.com and become legendary. We'll see you at the park.
CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready for the 2022 season with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 is our new chassis for tag and shifter racing, and it's been designed specifically for the U.S. market. The KT5 features 30mm construction with a 32mm front loop to increase front grip. CRG's new VEN 13 brake system is cutting-edge technology with a master cylinder that allows for pressure regulation within the system. Drivers can customize brake pressure to their own requirements to improve feel and to avoid brake lockup. The kart is finished with new KG 507, 508 bodywork that has refined aerodynamics and reduced weight. For cadet drivers, the 2022 CRG Black Mirror is already logging positive results to start the new season. This chassis will be making big waves in 2022. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. With 4-cycle racing enjoying consistent growth in North America, CRG's FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in Briggs & Stratton competition. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. CRG Nordam has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com. Past the halfway point of this edition of the EKN OutLap, our preview podcast of this coming weekend Superkarts USA WinterNationals, the opening round of the Pro Tour this weekend at NOLA Motorsports Park. Rob Howden alongside David Cole as we provide you with the preview. Let's move to X30 Junior, David. 31 entries in total. Carson Morgan, the champion, obviously won't be defending. He's moved up to the senior category. And in fact, you look at the winners from last year, only one still around. That's Max Garcia. both Carson Morgan. He got 3 wins last year. Jeremy Fletcher with 2 wins. They both move up to the senior categories. So Garcia, a winner from last year, ready to go at it in X30 Junior. But again, let's start as we did before. How'd things go at the Texas Sprint Racing Series last weekend? Who should we look for based on those performances?
Well, picking up the victory was Caleb Gaffera. It's a driver we've seen pick up numerous victories over the winter months. Got that 4-win, became the February driver of the month with that performance in Homestead. He was able to beat out Elio Meza and Max Taylor, another driver who's kind of been stepping up in the winter months. So be able to watch out for Max Taylor with the Mike Doty Racing LN racing cart. So Meza, though, I don't recall him ever racing X30 Junior. So this will be his first double duty weekend, racing both X30 Junior and KA100 Junior as well.
Well, we've seen the Caleb Gaffera, Max Garcia battle through micro into mini, now into junior. So, both of those drivers, no doubt about it, will be fighting up front. Another guy that's been really good out of the gate, David, has been Aiden Ingrata. For Speed Concepts Racing at the Winter Series event and races that you've been at. You've seen him racing for wins every time he hits the racetrack.
Yeah, the USPKS weekend was a battle between Ingrata and Gaffera. Ingrata won one day and Gaffera won the other, so they were certainly the head of the class on that weekend. But again, NOLA is a different racetrack, so I would expect to see more of a bigger lead pack and drivers unable to kind of break away. And Christian Miles could be another name we see in there. Yep. And coming off victory at the Challenge in the Americas, Christian Cameron, another driver that has some momentum on his side.
Agreed. Now, if we go to the SCUSA Pro Tour, the Winter Series as well, a kid that kind of exploded onto the scene by winning some races was Stephen Miller for Chad Dawkin Racing. I think Stephen, here's a kid that's getting more momentum. Starting to run some bigger races right now, coming out of Florida. Did a lot of racing down at Anderson Race Park, in Palmetto, Florida, but has kind of exploded onto the national scene. And I expect to be talking a lot about him throughout the weekend.
Yeah, and just won so after the USPKS weekend, won the Florida Winter Tour Championship in the Junior Rock Division. So
there you go.
It's got a championship under his belt, got a USPKS victory under his belt. So a lot of and SCUSA Winter Series victories as well. So a lot happening for him in this season already.
How about Team Bennick? They're lining up some pretty good drivers here in X30 Junior. You got Brandon Carr, the Brit. You've got Michael Costello, and then you've got last year's mini Swift champion on the Pro Tour, Enzo Vidmontian. That's a pretty good 3-punch right there.
Yeah, Vidmontian's still getting those rookie stripes off his bumper. Had a couple of good performances, had a couple that didn't quite go his way. But Brandon Carr was among those battling the second weekend at the SCUSA Winter Series program, and was racing against Gaffera and Max Garcia for victory there in that last race on Sunday in the X30 Junior Division. So Carr could be one of those that could be among those fighting for the podium.
A lot of momentum to start the season for Sebastian Weldon and JC Karting as well.
Yeah, Weldon, another driver to claim a championship, won the SCUSA Winter Series championship in this category. So he's got momentum on that side. Didn't quite perform well at USPKS, not quite what he wanted to do. But still showed some pretty good speed. So you expect to see him be among the contenders on the weekend.
Jesus Vasquez Jr., pole sitter at the Super Nats in KA100 Junior, I think it was. Was that correct?
It was KA100 Junior. Yeah, KA1 was it? Yes, too many junior categories to try and remember with that. I want to say it was KA100 Junior because it was in the morning session, if I recall correctly. So, he had a victory at the Challenge of the Americas in Phoenix. So that's, I think, maybe because he's racing in NOLA this weekend, he wasn't in Sonoma with his father to race that Junior 100 category this past weekend. I would expect him to be among those challenging.
Who else you got? I've got Parker DeLong highlighted here as well for Ryan Perry Motorsports, and I've also got Cooper Shipman for Iron Rock Motorsports. Both those drivers I expect to potentially find their way into the top 10, if not higher.
Yeah, more drivers doing the double duty, both Shipman and Meza doing double duty with Iron Rock. Normally they were only the KA100 junior division. So now they're double dipping. So that's going to be an interesting scenario on how that plays out. Diego Ardiles, another rookie that could be in the top 5 to top 10 as well.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. Let's go now to the KA100 junior category. We just did the seniors. Let's go. I mean, the X30s. Let's go to junior in KA100. 31 entries there as well. And again, Carson Morgan, of course, doubled up on the championships last year. Noah Baker got 2 wins. Carson got a couple. We know both of those drivers have moved up. Austin Jers is another driver who won last year. But Caleb Gaffera, David, was another winner. He won this category last week at the Texas Sprint Racing Series as well. So Gaffera with a lot of momentum coming into the weekend.
Yeah, 2 wins on the weekend, 4 wins at the SCUSA Winter Series. I picked up victory at USPKS along with 2 other podium finishes. So again, trophies everywhere he goes in 2022 thus far. He was able to beat out Mesa for the victory with Ivana Richards in the 3rd position.
I like that. I think Ivana will be strong. She's been getting better and better in the 100cc category. You look at Oscar Iliff. I think for Iron Rock Motorsports, he's going to be a guy that you expect to be up front. You mentioned we talked about Christian Cameron already, coming off that Challenge of the Americas championship and the win on Sunday there. So man, there's a lot of momentum. Steven Eisert as well, David, another Sonoma, California driver from the Sonoma Raceway club and track, who I think is going to be good coming out of the gate. A lot of momentum coming off the last weekend. Not at NOLA, but still good momentum success-wise.
Yeah, good momentum. Hopefully they'll get over the jet lag of going from the West Coast to the East Coast and be able to compete. But yeah, Cameron among those doing the double duty, Gaffera doing double duty along with Mesa and Shipman, Ivana Richards doing double duty as well. Max Taylor doing double duty. Jesus Vasquez Jr. also doing double duty. So something that was different. We didn't see a lot of double duties. I think Gaffera and Stephen Miller were the only ones doing the double duty. Miller here again doing double duty as well. So a lot more drivers at the Pro Tour going double.
I think Graham Trammell should be strong. Do you agree with me on that one?
Yeah, I would put Graham Trammell in there. Obviously with the Rawlson Performance Group, they got Gaffera leading the way, but Trammell is able to kind of feed off of that. They also have Ernesto Riviera, who he was the top qualifier at NOLA Motorsports Park. So he is actually, I thought he was a local. I guess he's not, but he was able to set fast time there at the at the Texas Sprint Racing Series in qualifying.
Names again, we're expecting to be up front: Cooper Shipman, Charlie Smith, Max Taylor. We've mentioned them already. Jesus Vasquez Jr. In the category as well. This is going to be pretty interesting. There's a couple drivers I think that we expect to get to the pointy end of the grid, but I think anywhere 3rd on back to 10th, David. There's a lot of drivers in the field if they get comfortable with this racetrack. Man, they're going to, even like a Spencer Conrad, right? They're going to be able to find themselves in a position where they could run top 10 or better.
Yeah. Excuse me, man, it won't go away. Let me throw in Oscar Iliff, Iron Rock Motorsports driver in his 2nd year now in the junior ranks. Sorry, I missed it. And Valentino Garbarino.
Yeah, Garbarino is pretty good for Ryan Perry Motorsports in the Winter Series action too. So Garbarino could be a driver who's in the fight there as well. Again, this should be a lot of fun to watch. A lot of the drivers we see up front in X30 Junior, very likely to be up front in X30 Senior. David mentioned a lot of the drivers doing double duty. Let's move to the 2 Masters categories, David. It's going to be a little bit shorter to wrap this segment up because, again, disappointing for me. Only 5 entries in X30 Masters, 6 in the Master Shifter category. Mario Barrios winning the championship last year on the strength of a couple of wins. Matt Johnson, Danilo Ramalho, Jess Peterson all getting wins as well. But this field just, it's 5 drivers. Barrios really is going to be the outright driver to beat.
Well, Ramalho coming back, he won at NOLA last year, so I think he's
I didn't see that. You're right.
Coming off the 2 victories at USPKS, he won the SCUSA Winter Series program. Certainly has the momentum to carry himself into the Pro Tour. I think Barrios is going to be certainly the top contender, so we could see a 2-driver battle all weekend long. Pete Vetter, the pistol, is making his Pro Tour debut after racing SuperNationals last year and did the USPKS weekend as well. So he could be a contender to land on the podium.
Let's go again. Those are the guys that are going to be battling for. I think let's go to Master Shifter right now. Jordan Musser's really dominated the action, winning in 2013, 17, 18, and 19. 3 wins last year. Scott Barnes got a victory. Ryan Kinnear got a couple wins. David, no Musser, no Barnes, no Kinnear on the entry list I see right now for the Master Shifters.
Yeah, Kinnear was only a 1 event race last year at the Summer Nationals, so he was able to sweep and kind of burn Musser for 2 victories on that one. But yeah, neither Musser nor Barnes staying in Bermuda, not coming over. He did the SCUSA Winter Series, also just raced at NOLA and won in the Masters division for the Simcraft 24 Hours of NOLA just a couple of weeks ago. So he was able to pilot along with a couple other Bermuda drivers and I think one other driver to a victory in the Masters class aboard a Margay powered by Briggs and Stratton. So go the whole 24-hour distance. I think it was somewhere like around 1,400 laps, just a crazy amount of laps.
So I would think that Vincent Cassard and Victor Jimenez will probably be the 2 drivers to watch right now. Cassard with PSL Karting, definitely good speed battle that with Barnes last year here behind Musser. Jimenez with Rawls Performance Group has won Winter Series races before, so I think those are 2 guys to watch. There'll be Tim DeBeloy as well with PSL Karting. Hardin Motorsports Group with 3 drivers as well, Robert Feige, Ken Schilling, and Anthony Stifler. So we'll see which drivers are working their way to the podium when it's all said and done. But again, it's a shame, man. It's especially with Dave when we get this momentum for Pro Shifter when we put 19 on the grid, end up only with the 6 Masters drivers. I would love to have seen 10 or more in that class.
Yeah, again, just the ebbs and flows of our sport. You know, we were seeing cadet levels at the highest we've ever seen, and now, unfortunately, we're seeing Masters numbers at the lowest.
Yeah, and we'll see whether things kind of ebb back in the other direction. And listen, that's all kind of part and parcel to this really kind of weird place we're in right now in terms of shifter kart racing with the Honda going away, the IME SSE 175 coming in and not getting the traction it expected. We've got the Rock shifters. It's just a really weird place right now. KZ now coming in a little bit more. So, again, we're in an odd place for shifter kart racing in North America. And ideally, it's going to settle in over the next couple of years. One more break, and we'll cap off this edition of the EKN OutLap. When we come back, we'll have a look at Mini Swift and Micro Swift. Make that jump from the club level and race against the best in the country at the Texas Sprint Racing Series. The premier regional kart racing series in Texas is a 5-race program that features 5 different tracks, all in the southern portion of the USA. The Texas Sprint Racing Series kicks off the season in the Big Easy on March 25th, 26th, and 27th, hosting round 1 at the NOLA Motorsports Park in New Orleans, Louisiana, as a warm-up to the Superkarts USA WinterNationals. The series returns to the Lone Star State on May 20 to 22, returning to the popular Speed Sports Racing Park in New Caney, Texas. One of the founding circuits in Texas, North Texas Kartway in Denton, is slated to host Round 3 on June the 24th to the 26th. Round 4 travels to the Texas Panhandle and the Amarillo Kart Circuit on August 5th, 6th, and 7th. The 5th and final round of the 2022 Texas Sprint Racing Series travels to the MSR Houston Karting Facility in Angleton, Texas on September 23rd to 25th. Details surrounding the rules and class structure for the official Superkarts USA and International Kart Federation Series can be found at TexasSprintSeries.com. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic and Esprit chassis, and now the new Red Speed and EOS brands, OTK quality is second to none. All 5 brands are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour and the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, and the Pro Kart Challenge, the United States Pro Kart Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. To learn more about a specific product line, you can find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, Red Speed, or EOS. Visit www.otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. Welcome back to the EKN OutLap, our preview podcast of this coming weekend Superkarts USA Winter Nationals at NOLA Motorsports Park, the opening 2 rounds of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. David, let's go to Mini Swift. 39 entries, a lot of good momentum in the cadet categories across the country right now. Enzo Vidmontiem was the champion last year on the strength of 3 big victories. He's moved up into the junior class. Is it Jack Iliff, right?
Correct.
Jack Iliff. Yeah, Jack Iliff won a victory, as did Mateus Orjuela. He got a couple. Iliff was P2 in points last year in 2021. Let's see how things racked up at the Texas Sprint Racing Series last week. Who actually came away with the victory?
It was Carson Weinberg aboard the CRG Black Mirror chassis with Speed Concepts Racing, able to pick up the victory just ahead of Jack Iliff with Tyler Roberts in the second position. So I think those are certainly the 3 favorites going into the weekend. Iliff coming over back from racing in Europe all winter long with Parolin factory team, now back with his Iron Rock Motorsports crew aboard the Parolin. Certainly looked strong back in NOLA, but Weinberg able to score the victory and kind of get more momentum going in. You know, certainly was a top qualifier at USPKS, among those battling for victories and the podiums all weekend long there. We saw him quick at Homestead as well, too. So I would expect to see Weinberg there, and then Roberts picking up that first USPKS victory.
Yeah.
Orlando is going to certainly carry that momentum into this weekend.
Yeah, all 3 of those drivers, right? Iliff, Roberts, and Weinberg. A lot of momentum, a lot of confidence right now. Iliff coming over from Europe, as you had said, so he's going to have a ton of confidence. So there definitely 3 drivers will be up front. But this is going to be, as I scroll through it, this class, and I've highlighted names, man, this is going to be tight. Because let's start by, who do we throw in first? Do we go Keelan Harvick first?
Well, let me start with Oliver Weldon. Let me start with Oliver Weldon, the SCUSA Winter Series champion. Let's stay with the brand and go there. You know, Oliver certainly performed well and was one of those drivers to be able to compete directly up against Keelan Harvick, who we saw step up in that second weekend and pick up victories there, or one victory there. So Harvick adds a name to the list. So there's 5 drivers to begin with right there. Right. I can easily name 5 more, and we can continue on to probably naming half the field.
It's crazy, right? Isaac Malkit obviously has had some pretty good runs as of late. That we watched him in the last couple of years on the Kart Republic. So Malkit, I think, is one for sure. Asher Oxtein has been really strong to start this season for Super Tune. How about Alessandro Truchot, David? Wins the Micro Swift category, the championship in the Winter Series, moving up to Mini this weekend. I didn't know this. This is interesting to see Truchot bump it up a level.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what we're starting to see now with the micros and minis, you know, drivers moving up, possibly maybe a little bit too soon, but Truchot certainly was dominant in the micro division at the SCUSA Winter Series. You know, there's been other drivers that moved up as well too this year, but they've shown well. I think that's the one thing. I think it's a little bit easier of a jump to go from micro to mini than it is to go from mini to juniors. Obviously, you're racing the same style kart. It's just a little bit of a quicker engine. And so that transition isn't much, because you got to think about it. Truchot's been racing over in Europe. He actually missed the USPKS weekend to be racing in Europe. So he's got that experience racing against the older crew. So he has that under his belt, and looks like he's ready to take it to the mini division this year.
Well, let's throw this out there to people that don't know this. Early days in the Pro Tour, there wasn't even a micro. There wasn't mini. It was tag cadet. They all raced together anyways, right? A whole age bracket essentially raced together before we kind of split off. Right?
We didn't have over 60 some drivers, or when you look at USPKS, nearly 100 drivers. We only had like maybe 15 to 20 at the time when the Pro Tour began. I'm
just saying that it wasn't that the people worried about that jump when really they all started at the mini level anyways. Micro is kind of something that's happened
again. The whole reason we split them was not only because drivers to get more experience racing against similar drivers at their level, but because the numbers are growing, we don't need to see 40 field, even though we're seeing it 40 drivers in the cadet level, and where half of them are not quite the same age. It's a big gap between 12 and 7 years old.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree with you. Other drivers to watch out for in my mind, Giamatteo Rousseau. I think Rousseau should be pretty solid. Phaeton Sarapon as well for AKT. Tristan Murphy for Team Nitro. Those are just 3 drivers again. And David, you said we could probably mention half the field, but there's 3 drivers that have been running top 10 to start the 2022 season.
Vivek Canthan, another driver racing in Europe. So he's coming over along with Jack Iliff, both raced with Parolin. Now Canthan under the Parolin USA tent. He'll join Sarah Bradley and others.
Sarah's been good. Yeah, Sarah's been good to start the season.
Yeah.
How about Turner Brown? We just watched him at the Challenge of the Americas for GFC at Sonoma. Definitely a young driver whose name we're going to talk about throughout 2022.
Yeah, Turner Brown, Ty Fisher, the Canadian, with Race Lab aboard the JV kart on the West Coast, and then on the East Coast, so he's on the TB kart. Certainly has the speed. He got that first podium at the Challenge this past weekend. Just has to stay out of trouble and is able to contend for a top 10 finish.
Other guys that I put the highlight on: Max Christia, potentially Bobby Klein, Bronson Kustis, just a couple other names and Nico Sarfati is going to be there as well. Nico didn't run last weekend, but Nico will be there with GFC Racing this coming weekend.
Yeah, how come you always get a photo with him? Why can't I get one?
Because that's what Nico and I do. Every time we see each other, we get shots. So I'm literally gonna have pictures with this kid till he's like 18 years old, right? It'd be perfect.
Yeah, then no more selfies with you.
He won't want the selfies then. I mean, get away from me.
It was good to see Nico and his mom there at the racetrack saying hi to everybody. So great to see them. But again, a lot of different drivers that are going to be in contention on the weekend.
David, you looked at the Texas Sprint Racing here. We didn't talk about that yet. In your notes here, you say that Paxton Dyson actually won the race, Texas Sprint Racing, but isn't actually entered. That's interesting.
Well, we're not in micro yet, but if you want to talk about micro.
Sorry, I'm in mini still. My apologies. I jumped forward. Let's go to the micro category. What do we got in total for micro? 23. Good field. I like that level of field. It's not too crazy.
And again, all the winners from 2021 have moved up. Giamatteo Rousseau, the defending champion, he's moved up. Tristan Murphy, Phaeton Sarapon has moved up. Phaeton
Sarapon. No
Phaeton.
D. I know.
Lucas Blasio along with Keelan Harvick. So all those drivers were able to win last year. So that means all season long we're going to see drivers who pick up their first victory be new winners at the SCUSA Pro Tour level.
Davey, let me jump in real quick here and going back to Mini. I don't see Palacio on the entry list. I wonder if he's an entry that's going to be at track.
I think he's an entry at track. I saw his name on the map, but he is not on the entry list. So
good man.
Yep.
Let's talk then about. Let's now go into who was fast at the Texas Sprint Racing Series.
Paxton Dyson picked up the victory in the Micro Swift division ahead of Alex Chandler, with Drew Waltz finishing in the third spot. We have Chandler and Waltz that are on the entry list, but there's no Paxton Dyson. Again, a lot of these names are new to us.
Yeah.
Not familiar with Paxton Dyson, maybe possibly just a Texas Sprint Racing Series driver and not looking to do Pro Tour yet.
Agreed. That's a possibility for sure. Both Waltzes are running as well with Motaz Sport. Devin's running in the mini class, Drew in the micro category. For drivers that we've seen kind of run up front recently, Rocco Simoni was a winner in the Winter Series events, ran very strongly in the SCUSA Winter Series program. Ashton Woon as well, David, has been pretty strong both East Coast and West Coast in the races he's been in.
Yeah, Woon has 2 victories at the Challenge in the Americas in the mini division. Simoni picked up a victory at the USPKS event as well. So he's got multiple wins with WKA, SCUSA, or no SCUSA. It was just WKA. What else did he win?
USPKS.
And USPKS. That's right. He won something. I think it was a Winter Tour race. Yes.
I don't know that he won the Winter Tour because I think
he won a race in January, if I recall correctly.
I thought Truchot swept it. Maybe. And I know he was on the podium. That's for sure.
Winter Tour, not Winter Series.
Winter Tour. The Rock.
Yes. See, the problem is there's too many damn series in the winter.
No kidding. Dude, the January, February, March is busier than July, August, and September.
Well, yeah, because we need time to go to the beach, right?
Oh my God, it's crazy. Other drivers
don't want to see this body without his tan, believe me.
I don't at all. And I know that on vacation this week, you probably get that shirt off and it'll.
No. Well, maybe for a day or two.
Dude, listen, it's March break. Everybody from Michigan is going to go down to Florida, so you're not going to be the only alabaster white guy out there. So you'll be all right.
Well, at least I got a tan line though on my arms from the racetrack.
Okay, other guys to watch: Jackson Porter for Team Bennick, Kai Mars, Trinity Karting Group, Jackson Gibson from Rollison Performance Group, and Troy Ferguson, I think, from Team Bennick. Those are just 4 I'll throw out there as well.
I don't think you said Jackson Gibson. Did you say?
Yeah, of course I did. You don't listen to me.
I heard you say Jackson Porter. Sorry, I didn't hear you say that.
Jackson Gibson for Performance.
Jaime Garcia, Paralyn USA, Troy Ferguson, like you said. And again, a lot of names that we're still kind of learning and seeing them develop. Some were at Winter Series, some were not. So again, just watching that development. But you got to think Woon, he was him and Simone were the top 2 drivers behind Truchot. So you got to think those are going to be the guys to beat.
That's my thought too. Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. And again, as you said, David, everybody essentially moving up from micro to mini. And again, we're used to that every year. Drivers moving up, but not all the time is it everybody. Mass exodus on the graduation from micro to mini in the SCUSA program this year. Well, David, that wraps things up for this edition of the OutLap. Again, you won't be with us. You're going to be on vacation with the family in Florida. I have no doubt that you will not be tuning in at all. I wouldn't be either.
There will be zero tuning. Maybe a glance at the SCUSA app.
Okay, unplug, my friend. Unplug. Yeah. You deserve it. We've been thrashing throughout the from the Supernats on, right? It's really been nonstop all the way through. So you enjoy that holiday for sure. I, on the other hand, as the business owner, never get a break. So I'll just keep my head down and keep plugging. But
do you want a pity party?
I got to take a week off sooner or later before I have a heart attack and die, and I don't want that to happen. So again, so it'll be Alicia Hodap taking David Cole's position this weekend, handling all of our social media. So, of course, watch Facebook and Twitter for the top 10 updates. We'll have a lot of stuff pushed out social media-wise. Instagram, we'll do our 1-minute flats to start every day. I'll try to do a couple of interviews as well. It'll be pretty busy, as I'll be alongside Xander Clemens on the Kart Chaser live video coverage of the event this weekend. But as always, when it comes to the Winter Nationals and any of our EKN Trackside live events, certain hashtags we'll always throw in there. You can search that hashtag to find out whatever you want. This weekend, hashtag EKN at SCUSA, hashtag SCUSA Pro Tour, and hashtag WinterNats 2022. Hoping that the weather lays off, but otherwise, getting there Thursday night, tomorrow night at about 8 or 9 o'clock, and Trackside Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Looking forward to getting this Pro Tour, David, underway.
Yeah, I will kind of keep an eye on March Madness to kind of see who wins our bracket challenge. I think
Duke.
Yeah, no. Yeah, even though I have Duke in the final game, I can't have them win because that'll make your score better than mine.
Yeah, I can't win it though. Anyways, Gary Osterholt's got if Duke goes all the way, our buddy Gary Osterholt's got the handle on this thing. I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. So, but yeah, no. Good luck to all the competitors. I hope everybody stays safe and everybody has some good racing. A lot of different stories that are going to happen throughout the weekend. So I'm excited to come back on April the 11th and to read all about it.
Yeah, it's obviously an interesting year. David taking the vacation, had booked it. He's not going to be able to be here. I've got a conflict, so I'll miss my first ever Pro Tour race in May, right? I won't be at it's June, late June, whatever it is. I won't be in Utah for the Spring Nationals this year. He and I will be back together for the Summer Nats, and of course, the next time you and I are trackside is going to be at Pat's Acres for the California Rock Championship race. That's the next time we're trackside together.
That is correct. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to head to Pat's Acres for the first time, but it'll be a different Spring Nationals for sure, not having you there. Yeah, but I'm sure this weekend will be a little different, not having me there as well too.
That's very true. Very true. Listen, folks, thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the EKN OutLap as we previewed this coming weekend Superkarts USA Winter Nationals. Over 220 drivers entered. We've going through the numbers. We've seen potential for a couple of walk-ups. Might get to 230, maybe 240. We'll see how it goes. Otherwise, some pretty good action lined up. We hope you join us on everything we do on ekartingnews.com. All the coverage. We'll have daily reports, Paddock Insider on Friday, lots of social media. And as I said, I'll be part of the broadcast team for Kart Chaser and the live video coverage on the weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.